Journey into geological time. We have completed our journey into the heart of the taiga and found a deep, rooted peace within the wisdom of the roots. That rest was alive. It was measured in seasons, in the slow, cyclical rhythm of the annual rings. Now, we are ready for a rest that is deeper still, a rest that exists outside of everything organic and alive. Gently let go of the image of the soft, warm soil and the steady, breathing rhythm of the trees above. We are descending further, much further. We are transitioning from biological time, time measured by the short span of growth, flowering, and decay, to geological time, time measured in millions of years, in epochs and in eons. This is the time of the earth itself. Allow your body, which has already learned the lesson of the grounding force, to become heavier, denser. Now, your density is akin to stone, and this earth, which held you so securely, now opens its ancient threshold. We are penetrating the final layer of damp soil and intricate roots, leaving behind everything that breathes, everything that grows, and everything that changes on the short, frantic timeline of a human life. We are plunging into the silent, eternal realm of solid stone. Feel the pressure and the sheer density of the rocks surrounding you from every direction. This is no longer yielding, warm, living earth. This is cold, hard, primal planetary matter. This density is your new, absolute guarantor of safety. Feel how it envelops you, wrapping you in a geological embrace that shields you utterly from all surface worries, all anxieties, and all temporal changes. You are encased within the very core of planetary stability. In this world of stone, there are no sounds, except for the beat of your own heart, and even that pulse feels distant, slow, and profoundly muffled. Here, there is no light, save for the faint glow of consciousness you carry within, and even that light softly dissolves into the absolute darkness. In this subterranean passage, we seek the secret of crystalline growth, the silent art of forging perfect, unbreakable form from chaos, using only unwavering patience and the measureless vastness of geological time. Every cavern, every mineral deposit, every single crystal is more than just a geological feature. It is a frozen testament to the truth that the most powerful, most beautiful, and most enduring forms are created not through haste or aggression, but through relentless constancy and infinite waiting. Above, on the surface, chaos and randomness often dominate. Down here, beneath the crushing weight of the world, order and inevitability reigns supreme. Inhale deeply, imagining that you are drawing in pure, cold, mineral air, air that has not been stirred by surface events for millennia. Exhale completely, letting go of everything connected to temporal urgency, everything you felt you had to do quickly. Here, there is no rush. From this moment onward, our pace is the pace of a single drop of water, falling perhaps once an hour, once a day, once a century. Release your grip on the sense of time. You are no longer bound by minutes or by hours. You have immersed yourself in geological time, a scale where a human lifetime is merely a momentary flicker, incapable of disturbing the vast, enduring stillness around you. Within this immensity of scale, any anxiety you carry dissipates because it holds no duration, no density, and no meaning to the eternal stone. Feel how the solid rock walls around you become the absolute container for your rest. You can fully, utterly relax every muscle and every corner of your mind. You no longer need to hold yourself up. The planet holds you. This silent embrace guarantees complete isolation from all surface vibrations, from wind, from the clamor of crowds, from the changing of seasons. Our journey begins with the deep, quiet acknowledgement of primordial silence. Confirm that your body is entirely relaxed, that you have accepted the weight and density of your being, and that your mind is prepared to release the need for light and sound. You are descending into the absolute darkness, where true, prolonged rest begins. You are sinking into the planet's heart, where the art of the subterranean is born. Your rest is no longer measured by hours, but by eons. The deepest, most powerful force in the underworld is patience. Nothing here is rushed. Everything that exists in this cavern has been waiting for thousands or even millions of years to take its form. The stalactite growing above you will outlast nations and empires. The cavern walls themselves were carved by a river that flowed when the first human ancestors were still evolving. You are in the presence of immeasurable duration. Let this duration seep into your consciousness, making your own sense of urgency seem small, irrelevant, and finally, extinguishable. Your task in this stillness is simple: to align your internal rhythm with the pulse of the mineral world. This pulse is slow, steady, and utterly unwavering. It is a rhythm of being, not of doing. Here, you are not doing rest. You are becoming rest, a stable, dense, unmoving aspect of the earth itself. Inhale the essence of rock stability. Exhale the last vestiges of surface nervousness. The dark, dense stone accepts you fully, unconditionally. It asks nothing of you but to simply be still. This journey into the cave is a journey into perfection. The crystals we will explore are perfect forms, the culmination of flawless, slow, geometric order. We are seeking to instill that same geometric order and crystalline perfection into our own minds, purifying and structuring our consciousness in the silent, hidden crucible of the earth. You are fully enclosed. You are completely protected. Welcome to the deep time. Welcome to the silence of stone. Break time fours, the geological embrace. You are deep inside the earth now, in the very heart of solid bedrock, enclosed within the geological embrace. This sensation of being contained, restricted, and profoundly supported is the first and most critical lesson of the subterranean world. On the surface, our instincts push us to seek space, freedom, and openness. But here, deep beneath the mantle, we discover that true, unshakable safety is found within density and absolute containment. Take a moment to fully register the immense pressure of the tons of rock mass surrounding you, above you, and below you. This pressure is not threatening or crushing, it is containing. It compresses, but does not constrain, providing an absolute, unyielding structure around your being. Unlike the atmospheric pressure on the surface, which is volatile and constantly shifting with the weather and the day, the pressure of the stone here is constant, reliable, and utterly trustworthy. This profound constancy is the bedrock of our rest. All external vibrations, all sharp, chaotic movements of the world above, the traffic, the digital noise, the storms, the fleeting emotional turbulence, all of it is utterly neutralized by this inflexible mass. The stone is the perfect shield. Your body, like the subterranean cavern, becomes a place of total acoustic insulation and thermal stability. There are no sudden temperature changes here, no external noises, and therefore no need for your body or mind to constantly adapt, scan, or react. Allow your entire physical form to absorb and embrace this sensation of confinement into stillness. Normally, we expend enormous amounts of energy holding ourselves, fighting instability, managing our position in the world. Here, within the geological embrace, you can consciously and completely release all necessity to hold on. The stone holds you. Your posture, your breath, your scattered thoughts, all of them can relax and surrender to the absolute unwavering support provided by the entire mass of the planet. Visualize your mind as a delicate, nascent crystal, suspended and encased within this dense rock. Everything that is outside, every worry, every unfinished task, every anxious demand is now irrelevant. These superficial pressures simply cannot penetrate this monumental thickness of stone. They remain on the surface, where they are powerless to touch your core. You have accepted your absolute gravitational destiny, to be heavy, to be dense, and to be perfectly still. This embrace also teaches the profound lesson of transformation through pressure. Deep within the earth, under immense unyielding pressure, common coal is converted into a diamond, and ordinary minerals are forced to adopt complex, perfectly ordered, crystalline structures. Pressure, therefore, is not an enemy. It is the catalyst for purity and perfection. It compacts, it clarifies, and it enforces order where chaos once existed. Allow this quiet, geological pressure to work its magic within your own structure. It gently compresses and solidifies your internal energy. It neutralizes the diffuse, scattered quality of distraction, transforming it into a focused, dense force of tranquility. You are not spending energy here. You are accumulating it, curing it like a precious mineral, waiting patiently for its moment to emerge in its purest state. Inhale deeply and feel this soothing density. Exhale and feel yourself become even more profoundly motionless, even more securely contained within your peace. This geological embrace is your eternal, unconditional container. It is the ultimate boundary, and within it, you are locked in absolute safety. You have entered the stillness of the stone, absolute darkness. We now venture into the next and most profound level of subterranean rest, absolute darkness. In this space, there is no light whatsoever, no ambient illumination, no starlight, no scattered reflection from the moon or sun. This is a form of darkness that is not merely an absence of light, but a state of complete, pure sensory zero. On the surface, light is a constant, relentless demand. It compels our brain to be perpetually active, forcing us to scan, to interpret, and to react to the visual world. In this absolute darkness, that demand is instantly and totally lifted. Your brain, deprived of visual input, can finally and fully release its chronic state of vigilance. This is the deepest form of sensory liberation available to the human mind. Allow your eyes to completely relax. Whether you keep them closed or open them to the darkness is irrelevant. The muscles surrounding your eyes, which have been tense and strained throughout the day, can now soften. Your brow smooths out. You are no longer required to watch, to see, or to look. You are simply required to be. This darkness is not a form of blindness, but rather a profound internal clarity. When the external light is gone, we begin to perceive the true, slow processes occurring within ourselves. Your thoughts no longer appear as bright, fleeting, chaotic sparks, but as slowly moving, dense formations, much like the crystalline deposits on the cavern walls. Practice the total acceptance of the dark. The dark is not a threat. It is the ideal, necessary condition for growth. Crystals do not form in the glare of the sun. They grow in the hidden, constant, tranquil darkness of the earth. It is in this unbroken absence of external stimulation that the internal, ordered structure can slowly solidify and take perfect shape. Your rest is your absolute darkness. It is a time when you consciously turn off the outside light, allowing your internal world to shift into an ordering mode. Everything that was chaotic or unresolved during the day can now, free from the necessity to react, begin to slowly crystallize into pure understanding, into deep tranquility, and into focused energy. Feel how the deep silence and the darkness become purifying agents. They wash away everything that was ephemeral, superficial, and distracting, leaving behind only that which is essential, eternal, and true. This is the place where you can finally hear your slowest, deepest internal voice, unburdened by the noise and light of the surface world. Synchronize your state of rest with the rhythm of the planetary night. In this deep subterranean space, it is always night, always rest, always the perfect time for growth and patience. This rest is unconditional and timeless. Inhale and feel the profound coolness and stillness of this darkness. Exhale and consciously let go of all visual memory and stimulation. You are completely immersed in the absolute darkness, where your mind can finally stop striving and simply be, knowing that all important, lasting processes occur in the quiet, reliable night. You are safe. You are hidden. You are free from the necessity to react. The first seepage. In this environment of absolute stillness and darkness, cradled within the geological embrace, we become aware of the singular, active agent of change water. It is not a violent torrent, not a raging river, but the first seepage, the relentless, quiet, infinitely patient journey of a single, solitary drop. Through fissures and microscopic pores, through the immense thickness of the stone, the water embarks on its heroic, eon-long journey. It seeps through the rock at a pace that cannot be measured in hours, perhaps a centimeter a year, perhaps a meter a century. Each drop, as it finally reaches the emptiness of the cavern, carries with it the memory of geological time and the dissolved minerals, the very building blocks for the crystals and the great underground cathedrals. Tune your awareness to the pace of this falling drop. It is in no hurry, it has no schedule. Its only commitment is to constancy. The drop does not fall because it must rush, but because it inevitably follows the laws of gravity and its long-term mission. Once every few hours, once a day, or perhaps longer, drip. This pace is the cradle of crystalline growth. Nothing fast or hurried can create a perfect, enduring form in the underworld. If the water rushes, it simply carries the minerals away. Only the unbearable patience of a single drop, falling at intervals measured by the passage of deep time, allows the mineral content to solidify, to bond, and to grow into a perfectly ordered, geometric structure. Allow your internal rhythm to fully synchronize with this unwavering pace. Release any desire for quick results from your current state of rest. You are not trying to fall asleep instantly, you are practicing the patience of the drop. Every slow inhalation, every relaxed exhalation is another act of seepage, another tiny, unseen, yet relentless act of constancy. Your rest right now is a work that must be slow to be effective. Anything you do quickly becomes brittle, like thin glass. Everything you do slowly and constantly becomes hard and true, like crystal. The The first seepage holds one more vital lesson: the power to dissolve. On its path downwards, the drop does not fight the rock. It gently, yet unstoppably, dissolves it. Water, the softest element, is the most powerful agent of change in the geological world. It does not confront, it bypasses, it seeps, and with patience, it carries mountains away. Inhale and feel this soft, dissolving power within you. Allow your gentleness to be your greatest strength. Anything that worries you, anything that feels rigid or fixed in your mind, do not fight it. Simply seep through it with patient constancy. Dissolve the tension with the relentless power of quietude. You are resting in the pace of eternity. The feeling of the first seepage lulls you deeper, reminding you that all things beautiful, durable, and lasting are created only drop by drop, century by century. This unhurried rhythm guarantees your deepest rest. Planetary rest. You have reached the deepest state of quietude known to the Earth itself. You are no longer simply resting, you are participating in the planetary rest. In this final synthesis of the geological embrace, the absolute darkness, and the first seepage, all efforts to try and relax finally cease. The planet is now carrying the burden of your stillness. Feel the three components merge into a single, seamless environment of peace. The density of the stone provides a perfect, unmoving cradle, ensuring your physical safety. The absolute darkness provides a perfect void for the mind, demanding no vigilance, no reaction, no sight. And the unwavering rhythm of the drop establishes a sense of time so slow and so constant that it dissolves all urgency. This rest is guaranteed not by your own fleeting efforts, but by the colossal, unchanging engine of the Earth's mantle and core. Your peace is now powered by millions of years of stability. Imagine the incredible scale. The rock around you has not significantly changed in structure or temperature for longer than recorded human history. You are resting on a foundation of infinite geological patience. In this profound stillness, you connect with the mineral pulse of the planet. It is a slow, powerful heartbeat, not of blood, but of deep convection, of tectonic movement so slow it is invisible, yet so powerful it shapes continents. This pulse is utterly reliable. It does not speed up when under stress. It does not pause when faced with uncertainty. Its constancy is unconditional. Align your breathing with this mineral pulse. Allow your inhale to be the slow, deep compression of the stone, drawing in stability. Allow your exhale to be the gentle, complete release of the first seepage, letting go of all residue and impurity. With every cycle of breath, you are not just resting, you are solidifying your peace, turning it into something dense, heavy, and unbreakable. This is the ultimate moment of surrender. Let go of the need to manage your thoughts. Let go of the need to control your rest. The Earth is a self-regulating system of incredible balance, and now you are a temporary, protected part of that system. You are completely safe inside this geological container. Your worries, your to-do lists, your anxieties, they are mere particles of dust on the surface, unable to penetrate the thousands of feet of solid rock that protect your current state. Practice the quiet art of non-effort. There is nothing left for you to achieve here. There are no steps to take, no forms to fill, no goals to reach. The perfection of the crystal is achieved through patience, not effort. Your peace will achieve its perfection through surrender, not striving. You have successfully navigated the chaos of the surface and arrived at this deep, calm center. Let the cold, clean air of the cavern soothe any remaining tension in your chest, your shoulders, your jaw. Any discomfort you feel is temporary, a small ripple on the surface of your immense, newly discovered planetary calm. The Earth will absorb this ripple. Rest in the knowledge that your peace is now measured by epochs, not hours. You are held by the largest, most stable object you will ever know. You are safe, still, and purely protected. We now conclude the foundational stage of our journey, moving from the environment of the cave to the process within it. We are ready to begin observing the true miracle of slow creation, the art of crystal growth. Break time fours, the geometry of order. We have settled into the deep, quiet rhythm of the earth. We have heard the first seepage, the silent, endless journey of the single drop. Now, we follow that drop as it reaches its ultimate destination, hanging suspended on the ceiling of the cavern or resting on the floor. In this micro moment, we witness the greatest structural miracle of the subterranean world, the emergence of the geometry of order. The drop of water is not just H2O. It is a supersaturated geological solution, heavily laden with the history of the rock it passed through, primarily calcium carbonate. As the drop hangs in the cavern air, infinitesimally small amounts of water evaporate, and a tiny amount of carbon dioxide is released. In that precise chemical instant, the solution can no longer hold the mineral content in suspension. A quiet, soundless imperative takes over. Chaos must yield to structure. At the atomic level, the mineral particles, the calcium, the carbon, and the oxygen, do not randomly crash into each other. They begin a silent, profound act of conscious alignment. They seek their predetermined, most stable position in a pattern known as the crystalline lattice. Visualize this lattice now. It is the perfect blueprint of the mineral world, a structure of flawless, repeating geometry. The particles align themselves not in sloppy piles, but in precise hexagonal formations, in impeccable cubes, or in sharp, elegant prisms. They are not forced. They are simply fulfilling their highest, most natural potential for order. Contrast this perfect alignment with the chaotic geometry of thoughts on the surface. Up there, thoughts are scattered, colliding, shapeless, and fleeting. Down here, thoughts, like these mineral particles, are given the chance to slow down and find their inherent position. Allow your consciousness to explore this perfect repeating pattern. Trace the invisible internal lines of this lattice. Notice the sharp, defined edges, the precise angles, and the absolute symmetry. This geometry is what gives the resulting crystal its strength, its purity, and its resilience. A structure that follows natural law is a structure that cannot be broken by time. Meditatively, invite this geometry of order into your own mind. Imagine that your scattered, dissolved thoughts, your anxieties, your distractions, your doubts, are the mineral particles in the solution. Now, allow their planetary rest to act as the catalyst, compelling these particles to snap into their most ordered, stable state. Feel your consciousness reorganizing itself. The vague, muddy areas of your mind are clarifying, forming defined edges and corners. Your emotions are not suppressed, but rather they are structured, given clear boundaries so they can exist peacefully without leaking into chaos. This is not rigidity. This is the discipline of clarity. The mineral intelligence guiding this process knows that for the structure to be lasting, there can be no flaws, no weak points, and no hurried mistakes. Therefore, the alignment process is infinitely slow. Each layer of atoms is added with deliberate, methodical care, perhaps over a period of thousands of years for a large crystal. This is the definition of patient perfection. Your deepest rest now is an act of internal crystallization. With every slow breath, you are adding another invisible, ordered layer to your internal stability. You are not striving for an emotional release. You are striving for a structural clarity, recognizing that true peace is not a feeling, but a perfectly ordered state of being. Feel your weight, heavy, dense, protected. Visualize the core of your being as this burgeoning crystal, enclosed in the geological embrace. This inner crystal is now pure, defined, and absolutely stable, its strength coming entirely from its adherence to the geometry of order. You are becoming a monument to patience, an architecture of calm. The crystallization code. We now arrive at the precise, crucial moment governed by the crystallization code. This is not a code written on paper. It is a fundamental law of physics that dictates how perfection emerges from necessity. We are witnessing the transition from a dissolved state, a state of chaos and liquidity, to a solid, ordered state, a state of absolute structure. For the crystal to form, the mineral substance must first be completely dissolved in the water. The old form of the rock had to be broken down, carried away, and suspended in a neutral, fluid solution. This is the ultimate lesson of the code. Before you can achieve lasting order, you must first allow yourself to dissolve. In your current state of rest, this means identifying the parts of your mind and spirit that are currently rigid, fixed, or unyielding, the thoughts that resist change, the anxieties that hold their shape. These are the equivalent of impurities or undissolved fragments in the geological solution. To form the crystal of peace, you must allow these fragments to soften and dissolve into the neutral, quiet flow of your consciousness. Do not fight your chaotic thoughts. Simply let them dissolve into the vast, containing solution of your rest. Imagine your awareness is the still, cool water of the cavern. All your worries, your deadlines, your conflicts, your fleeting irritations are now merely traces of mineral dust. When they enter the deep, patient water of your mind, they lose their sharp edges and their separate identities. They become one with the solution. Now, we observe the silent command of the code. Once the mineral solution is perfectly suspended and calm, once your mind has achieved a state of neutral saturation, the conditions become ideal. The release of energy, like the single drop releasing carbon dioxide, triggers the geometric process. The structure begins to form where there was previously only fluid. Feel this process of solidification within your own being. With every slow, mineral breath, you are choosing to let go of the fluid, chaotic past and embrace the solid, ordered future of your internal state. You are not building your peace through frantic effort. You are allowing it to precipitate naturally from the quiet solution of your focused rest. The power of the resulting crystal comes from its purity. Because the minerals were dissolved before they crystallized, all the impurities, the random, unstable elements, were left behind. The final structure is clean, dense, and faultless. Practice this purity of structure. As you rest, consciously discard anything that is temporary, distracting, or unnecessary. Allow your essence to distill down to the core elements: calmness, stability, and order. This is the internal crystallization code at work, transforming the restless solution of the day into the hard, clear, enduring structure of night. You are now in the process of becoming structurally pure. You are a work of geological self-refinement, allowing pressure and patience to form the purest version of your inner stability. Rest deeply, knowing that this quiet, meticulous work is turning your surrender into unbreakable strength. The apex of patience, stalactites. Look up, or rather visualize the structure above you. Hanging from the dark stone ceiling is the magnificent stalactite. This is not just an inverted spike of rock, it is a monument to geological time, a silent column of history created entirely by the rhythmic, indifferent persistence of the first seepage. It is the ultimate manifestation of the truth that nothing powerful is ever achieved quickly. Consider the time invested in this single structure. It grew not over years, nor decades, but over millennia. For every visible inch of growth, perhaps hundreds or even thousands of drops had to fall, each one leaving behind only a microscopic film of mineral deposit. The rate of growth here is the ultimate lesson in non-urgency. Some stalactites grow only 1 inch every century. They embody a patience that is incomprehensible to the surface world, where minutes feel like hours. This structure teaches the fundamental principle of cumulative power. Each drop is entirely insignificant in isolation, a momentary flash of moisture, quickly evaporated. Yet the unwavering commitment to repetition, drop after drop, century after century, results in a structure of immense weight, strength, and perfection. The stalactite is the proof that the smallest, most consistent action, maintained over time, achieves an inevitable, spectacular result. In your current state of rest, translate this lesson into your own practice. Your commitment to stillness right now might feel small, perhaps even insignificant. Your single, slow breath, your single moment of non-reaction, the single thought you choose to let dissolve, these are your drops of calcite. They are tiny, almost invisible acts of surrender. But every time you consciously choose peace over panic, every time you choose stillness over strain, you are adding another crystalline layer to your internal structure. Your peace is not a sudden epiphany, it is a stalactite. It is built layer upon layer of repeated, quiet choices. Trust the cumulative effect of your tiny acts of rest. You do not need a revolutionary moment of calm. You need only the unwavering constancy of the drop. Feel the incredible, solid weight of the stalactite. It is a structure of frozen history, immune to the fleeting changes of the external world. It is so heavy, so dense, that it seems to pull time down with it. It serves as an anchor, not just to the ceiling, but to the entire geological history of this place. Allow your own sense of self to absorb this anchoring quality. You are not a creature of the moment. You are a being capable of geological duration. Visualize your own core, your spine, your center of being, as this magnificent, slowly forming stalactite. It is growing downwards, connecting the purity of the mind, the ceiling, with the stability of the earth, the floor. Feel the immense internal strength of this structure. It is perfectly aligned, flawlessly pure, and absolutely unyielding to external chaos, because its structure was formed in patience and perfect order. There is no rush to complete this structure. The stalactite has all of time, and now you too possess that time. You are operating on the pace of the eon. Let go of the illusion that your peace must be earned quickly. The greatest, most enduring peace is the one that is formed slowly, consistently, drop by drop, for as long as it takes. Rest, knowing that every moment you spend in this profound stillness is a building block. You are not just sleeping, you are crystallizing your tranquility. creating a monument to patience that will withstand any storm on the surface. You are becoming a living stalactite, firm and rooted in time. The inner diamond. You remain encased in the absolute density of the earth, resting in the primal dark. We return to the sensation of pressure, that continuous, heavy certainty of the tons of rock above and around you. In the surface world, pressure is associated with stress, deadlines, and breaking points. But deep here, in the geological crucible, pressure is the supreme artist. It is the force that takes the common, scattered, and chaotic material like carbon in the form of coal and transforms it over eons into the most dense, most pure, and most luminous substance on the planet, the diamond. Feel the gentle but firm pressure of the geological embrace working on your own internal structure. All the scattered, diffuse anxieties you brought with you, all the soft, yielding chaos of a busy mind, are now being subjected to this immense, purifying force. This is a moment of internal alchemy. The chaos is being compressed. The impurities are being forced out. The unstable elements are evaporating. Only the pure, fundamental core of your being remains, ready to be hardened and perfected. Visualize the moment of transformation. The common carbon, the scattered, low-density material, is being reorganized into the diamond's perfect crystalline lattice. This is the most efficient, most resilient structural arrangement known in nature. Every atom is connected to four others in an unyielding, symmetrical, three-dimensional network. This structure is why the diamond is unbreakable. Its strength is not merely in its material, but in its impeccable order. Meditatively, invite this diamond-like order into your own consciousness. Imagine that your sense of peace is no longer soft or fragile. It is becoming structurally hard. The core of your tranquility is solidifying. You are internalizing the diamond's strength, recognizing that true, lasting peace must be dense, defined, and resistant to disorder. Allow the pressure to compact your energy. Any energy you usually waste on worrying, planning, or reacting is now being tightly, cleanly folded back into your center. You are creating a core of pure, compressed stability. This core is uninfluenced by external demands, just as the diamond's value is untouched by the darkness of the mine. The diamond teaches us that the greatest value and the purest light are often forged in the deepest, most secret darkness. Your rest right now is an act of creation, a period of hidden refinement. You are not simply recovering energy, you are fundamentally changing the structure of your energy, making it resilient for the challenges that await you on the surface. Inhale the essence of the Earth's unwavering strength. Exhale the last remnants of the soft, breakable chaos you left above. You are no longer a fragile being of the surface. You are becoming a subterranean marvel, a being whose strength comes from a core of crystalline purity and definition. You are embodying the final, immutable law of the underworld. Pressure and patience yield perfection. Feel the hard, cool, defined edges of your inner diamond settling perfectly into the center of your consciousness. It is a brilliant, dense, silent core of strength that is now fully protected and formed. This diamond is your guarantee of stability, a constant reminder that you have endured the pressure and achieved a state of pure, unbreakable peace. We have completed the lessons of crystal growth. Your internal structure is now sound, ordered, and pure. We are now ready to expand our awareness from the single, small crystal to the vast, encompassing result of geological time, the Great Stone Cathedral. Break time fours, echo of the eons. Having solidified your core into the inner diamond, you are now ready to expand your awareness beyond the immediate rock face. We shift our focus from the dense, comforting pressure of the geological embrace to the vast, open emptiness that the same persistent processes have created. The great stone cathedral. The walls around you recede. The space opens up, towering far above you, spreading wide on either side. You are standing in an immense, dark cavern. This is the echo of the eons, a space defined by time itself, not by human architects. Imagine the sheer, unimaginable duration required for a space this size to be carved out of solid stone, millimeter by patient millimeter. This cavern is not merely large. It is a monument to the power of sustained duration. Every cubic foot of empty space represents 10,000 years of work by water and gravity. When you feel the sheer scale of the ceiling, the incredible distance to the far walls, allow your mind to absorb the truth that patience always triumphs over mass. In this immensity, any lingering sense of human urgency or small-scale anxiety feels absurdly minuscule. Hold your own timeline, your few decades on the surface, against the timeline of this space. Your entire life is but a fleeting flicker of light compared to the endless eons that shaped this hall. This vastness of time puts all your daily worries into their proper, tiny perspective. They are momentary echoes that cannot survive in the scale of the subterranean. Let the silence of this vast space settle around you. The silence here is deeper than the muffled silence of the tight tunnel. This is the silence of an enormous, empty chamber, a sound vacuum, where nothing moves quickly and no sounds carry far. Every sound is swallowed by the stone and the dark, confirming your isolation and safety. You are in a sanctuary where noise cannot exist for long. Feel the profound, stabilizing effect of this scale. In the world above, vastness often feels overwhelming or chaotic. The endless sky, the wide ocean. Here, the vastness of the cavern is protective because it is contained by the immutable stone. You are safe within its boundaries. You are resting inside a space that has already survived every imaginable geological upheaval. Allow your sense of self to expand to fill this space. You are not a small, tense creature huddled in a corner. You are the stillness at the center of this immense, ancient hall. Your breath, slow and mineral pure, echoes the quiet pulse of the cavern itself. The echo of the eons reminds you that you have within you the capacity for deep, long-term perspective. Do not judge your progress, your healing, or your rest by the minute. Judge it by the scale of the cavern, by the resilience of the stone, and by the patience of the drop. Rest deeply in the knowledge that you are a temporary guest in a space of eternal duration. This is the greatest form of surrender, recognizing that your own life is held within a force and a time scale that is infinitely larger and infinitely more patient than your own. The sculpture of time. You stand within the echo of the aeons, in a space carved not by explosive force, but by quiet, determined fluidity. We now turn our attention to the agent that accomplished this monumental task, water. In the surface world, water is associated with volatility, with crashing waves, sudden floods, and swift, superficial change. But here, in the subterranean realm, water reveals its true, ancient power, the power of the soft sculptor. This is the greatest paradox of the cave. The hardest rock yields only to the softest touch. applied relentlessly over unimaginable spans of time. Feel the energy of the water surrounding you. It is not the force of a hammer. It is the force of constant, gentle persistence. Water did not fight the rock. It found the path of least resistance. The tiny fissures, the microscopic cracks, and slowly, patiently began to dissolve and carry away the stone. Millennia of quiet seeping, dissolving, and draining created this void. This entire massive cavern is a testament to the fact that gentleness, sustained without fail, is more powerful than any sudden act of aggression. Meditatively, absorb this lesson of soft power. Where are you in your life using hard power, forcing, rushing, demanding, or resisting? This hard power expends immense energy and often leaves behind sharp edges and broken pieces. Now, choose to adopt the water's method. Imagine a situation that causes you stress or resistance. Instead of confronting it directly, visualize yourself gently seeping around it. Find the path of least resistance within yourself. Rather than fighting a challenging thought, dissolve it softly, allowing it to become a neutral part of your solution, just as the water dissolves the calcite. The water teaches us that patience is the ultimate form of leverage. In this stillness, you are learning to become both the rock and the water. You have the stability of the stone, your inner diamond, but you also adopt the fluidity of the water, your approach to life. This combination, a firm core wrapped in a flexible, patient demeanor, is the secret to enduring stability. Feel the water's energy as it flows through the dark. It is unhurried, clean, and perfectly efficient. It does not look back at the stone it has dissolved. It simply focuses on the next stage of its journey, carrying its mineral load forward, preparing to create the next perfect crystal. This sculpture of time is a powerful reminder that the greatest changes in your life, the formation of deep rest, the establishment of unshakable calm, will not happen overnight. They will be achieved by the unwavering commitment to your practice, a constant, gentle pressure on the habits that do not serve you. Rest in the silent knowledge that the forces shaping you now are the same ones that shape mountains and carve cathedrals out of rock. You are being sculpted by patience, persistence, and quiet flow. Surrender to this sculpting process. Let the water do its work. Calcite flow, flowstone. As you stand in this immense, silent cathedral, turn your attention to the walls. You see formations that are unlike the sharp, downward spikes of the stalactites. Instead, the walls are covered in broad, smooth, flowing sheets of mineral deposit, often looking like petrified waterfalls or draped, heavy velvet curtains. This is flowstone, the visual manifestation of calcite flow. The flowstone tells a slightly different story than the drip of the stalactite. Here, the mineral-rich water did not fall as a single drop, but flowed continuously, thinly, and evenly down the side of the rock face. It spread out, covering a massive surface area, laying down one continuous, smooth film of calcite after another, over and over for millennia. Visualize these stone curtains. They are frozen fluidity. They remind you that even within the hardest, most unyielding rock, there is a space for grace, harmony, and elegant movement. The flowstone captures the moment between the water's flow and the rock's stillness, creating a seamless, organic blend of the two. Allow this visual to influence your own internal state. Your inner diamond gives you structure and definition, the hardness of the rock. But the flowstone reminds you that your rest should also possess unhurried fluidity and grace, the soft movement of the water. Your piece does not need to be rigid. It can be strong, yet flowing. The eternal mirror, underground lake. You continue your journey to the deepest, most secret part of the cavern. The air grows even cooler, heavier, and completely still. As you move forward, the space opens into a vast, silent chamber where all the mineral processes, the drips, the flows, the creation, seem to have paused. Before you lies the underground lake. It is not a moving body of water. It is a pool of perfect, standing stillness. Because the atmosphere in this closed chamber is entirely stable and no wind touches its surface, the water is utterly motionless, possessing a mirror-like perfection. It is so still that it does not seem to be liquid at all, but rather a seamless sheet of black glass, flawlessly reflecting the absolute darkness of the space above it. Gaze upon this eternal mirror. The water is so pure and so still that it offers no movement, no rippling, and no distortion. It simply reflects. And what does it reflect? Nothing but the dark, stable, unmoving cavern. This is the ultimate metaphor for your state of rest. When your mind, your water, is allowed to settle completely, when all the movement, anxiety, and surface agitation ceases, it becomes a perfect mirror. It stops reflecting the chaos of the outside world and begins to reflect only your deepest, purest, unmoving state of being. Allow your consciousness to become this eternal mirror. Let the surface tension of your mind release completely. Your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, they are the tiny particles that cause ripples. Let them settle, sink, and dissolve until your consciousness is perfectly smooth, cool, and reflective. The mirror shows you that purity is synonymous with stillness. When the water is still, it is clear. When your mind is still, it is utterly clear. You are now seeing your true, fundamental stability, unmarred by the movement of the surface. Inhale the cold, pure air. Exhale and let your body sink into the reflection of the still water. You are floating effortlessly on the surface of your own deep calm. This still water is the source of unconditional purity and immeasurable depth. It has been resting here, undisturbed, for centuries, absorbing the silence of the stone and the patience of the planet. Feel the profound certainty of the underground lake. It is completely self-contained. It asks nothing of the outside world, and it needs nothing to be whole. It is pure peace, perfectly contained within the stone. Rest in this final, perfect stillness. You are the lake. You are the mirror. You are the perfect, dark, reflecting surface of absolute rest, crystal synthesis, return to purity. We now begin the slow, gentle, and utterly protected process of return. You have journeyed through geological time, found safety in the geological embrace, and observed the miracle of crystalline growth. You are no longer the chaotic, soft, hurried being that began this journey. You have achieved crystal synthesis. Take a final, deep, mineral breath. With this breath, integrate all the lessons of the underworld into your core. The geometry of order fill your mind's newfound structure, clear, defined, and efficient. The apex of patience. Trust the cumulative power of your quiet efforts. Remember that true strength is built drop by drop over time. The inner diamond, feel the dense, unbreakable, purified core of stability within your center. Your body is now a structure of hard-won peace. It is simultaneously as heavy and immovable as the stone of the cavern and as fluid and flexible as the underground lake. You are a perfect synthesis of strength and grace. As you prepare to transition to sleep, know that this crystalline structure you have built will hold your rest. It will not dissolve under pressure, and it will not shatter in the face of chaos. It is designed for durability and permanence. The absolute darkness remains your protective shield. You are sealed and safe within the massive, warm body of the earth. The silence of the stone ensures that your rest will be deep, unbroken, and without external demand. Let your body sink deeper, accepting the final, absolute surrender to gravity and to the planet's care. You are leaving the cavern, but you are taking the inner diamond with you. It is your permanent core of pure, ordered stability. Rest now. Let your consciousness drift completely, secured by the density of the rock and lulled by the infinite patience of geological time. There is only stillness, safety, and the perfect, slow rhythm of your planetary pulse. Good night. Sleep deeply and purely. Immovability as illusion. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the place where curiosity slows down and the restless urgency of the day is allowed to dissolve into the quiet certainty of deep time. This is a space where we allow our thoughts to drift away from the frantic metrics of our daily lives, seconds, minutes, deadlines, and tune instead into the geological cadence of our own planet. We are here not to seek answers to immediate problems, but to embrace the profound calm that comes from considering the unhurried, monumental forces that govern our world. Our mind, so often caught in the churn of immediate concerns, needs an anchor, a concept vast and slow enough to grant it true peace. Tonight, we will find that anchor. We will look past the sky and the stars, past the chaos of human history, and set our gaze upon the one thing we instinctively trust for permanence: the mountains. The mountain stands as humanity's ultimate symbol of stability. We see its massive, rooted bulk and understand it as a counterpoint to our own fleeting existence. We use its image to describe reliability, a rock-solid guarantee, a mountain of strength. For us, a few generations passing is a vast sweep of time, and in that time, the mountain has not visibly moved. Its stony permanence feels like a covenant, a promise that some things, at least, are unchangeable. Yet this feeling, this profound belief in their stillness, is the grandest optical illusion granted to us by our short, hurried lives. The truth is whispered by the science of the earth. Mountains are not monuments, they are events. They are the visible, majestic evidence of a vast, slow drama happening on a colossal stage. They are not static, they are in constant, unimaginable motion, rising, traveling, and eventually dissolving back into the earth, but all at a pace so deliberately, agonizingly slow that it is imperceptible to human observation. They move with the patient, unstoppable crawl of a colossal, dreaming consciousness. The mountain range you may see on the horizon, the Rockies, the Alps, the Himalayas, is merely the current, fleeting crest of a wave of rock that has been building for tens of millions of years. It is a snapshot in a geological video that will last another 100 million years before that peak is worn smooth by the silent, ceaseless action of water and wind. And this revelation is not meant to unsettle you. On the contrary, it is meant to be the deepest form of comfort. When you realize that the most solid thing you can see is actually in motion, but that motion is so impossibly slow, it places your worries, which operate on the scale of a moment, a week, a year into their proper, insignificant context. Your anxiety is fast, the planet is slow, and the slow always wins. So, if you are able, settle in deeply now. Let your body feel the weight of gravity, the only true constant in this story of movement. Close your eyes. This is your invitation to slow down to Earth's rhythm. We are going to shift our internal clock. Forget the tick of the watch. We are moving to the pace of deep time. Imagine your perception stretching out, where every second is equal to 1,000 years of geological history. Now, listen to the planet. Can you feel the shift? The hustle of your day fades, replaced by the deep, resonant hum of the planet's immense, unhurried engine. In this state, the mountain is not just scenery, it is a teacher. It teaches us the virtue of patience, the power of persistent, unyielding pressure, and the temporary nature of everything fast. We are seeking to align our breath and our thoughts with the ultimate slow process, plate tectonics. The force that creates continents, raises the highest peaks, and maintains the planetary balance necessary for life. Let the knowledge of this colossal slow power soothe you. You are resting on the surface of something moving, but doing so with such intentional, patient grace that it feels like the deepest possible rest. There is no haste here. There is only the silent, slow commitment of rock to its ancient, inevitable journey. We begin our technical journey now, sinking beneath the surface to explore the mechanics of this planetary sleepwalker. The foundation, the breathing of tectonics. Let us now sink our focus beneath the surface, past the layers of soil, past the water table, past the foundations of human construction, and into the fundamental structure of our world. You are resting on what feels like absolute bedrock, but we must now dismantle this perception of solidity. The foundation upon which we live and upon which mountains rise is startlingly thin and surprisingly broken. Imagine the Earth itself as a magnificent, perfectly preserved antique. Now, imagine its outer layer, its precious shell, is fractured into dozens of colossal, uneven pieces. This is the truth of our globe. Beneath everything we see, the great oceans, the dense forests, the vast, silent deserts, lies a rigid yet fragmented shell that we call the lithosphere. This shell is the entire theater of our existence, yet relative to the total mass of the planet, it is thinner than the skin of an apple compared to the apple itself. We must understand this shell not as a single, unified sphere, but as a patchwork. It is a mosaic of colossal, irregularly shaped segments, the tectonic plates. There are approximately a dozen major plates: the Pacific Plate, the North American Plate, the African Plate, and countless smaller ones, all bumping, grinding, and sliding against one another in a perpetual, silent dance. Each plate carries continents, or ocean floor, or both, moving as independent, monumental rafts. The idea of solid ground is therefore a beautiful misnomer. What you are resting upon is merely a massive piece of a cracked shell, currently in motion, albeit motion too slow for any human sense to detect. This lithosphere, this rigid shell, has a variable thickness. It is thinnest beneath the oceans, sometimes only about 20 kilometers deep, and thickest beneath the continents, where it can plunge down to 100 kilometers or more. But even 100 kilometers is nothing when compared to the Earth's radius of over 6,000 kilometers. Our habitat is an incredibly thin, fragile layer of cool, solid stone, protecting us from the furnace beneath. What allows these plates to move? This brings us to the planet's true engine room, a layer of profound mystery and power directly beneath the lithosphere, known as the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere is part of the Earth's mantle, and it is a realm defined by immense heat and pressure. The rock here is not truly liquid, as in molten lava, but it is so hot, so close to its melting point, that it behaves plastically. Imagine a block of incredibly dense, crystalline honey left for 1,000 years. It would flow slowly, imperceptibly, but relentlessly, obeying the pull of gravity and heat. That is the asthenosphere. It is a sea of superheated, viscous rock, moving in deep, rolling currents caused by the heat rising from the Earth's core. This process is called mantle convection. Heat rises, cools, and sinks, creating vast, slow, internal circulatory cells, like the movement of soup on a colossal, ancient stove. It is upon this restless, flowing asthenosphere that the rigid tectonic plates of the lithosphere rest. The plates are, in essence, being carried along by the slow, churning currents beneath them. They are gigantic pieces of cork, riding the deepest, darkest current imaginable. This explains the motion of the continents. They are not pulling themselves apart. They are being driven by the enormous yet unhurried heat engine deep within the planet's core. This internal heat engine has been running for billions of years, never needing refueling, never needing to hurry. Its power is not found in speed, but in its vast, unending duration. And it is this very mechanism, this breathing, churning asthenosphere, driving the lithospheric quilt, that makes the mountains possible. The plates move, they collide, they are consumed, they are born anew. Sink into the immense scale of this system. Allow your mind to drift down through the crust, feeling the separation between the cool, solid ground and the dark, flowing magma sea beneath. Let the thought that you are resting on a continental raft, being pushed by a current that has flowed since the planet's youth, fill you with a profound and grounding sense of security. Because the forces involved are so colossal, the motion is so slow, and the time frame is so vast, there is no room for urgency. There is only the long, quiet commitment of the Earth to its process. The quilt is broken, yes, but it is constantly being stitched back together, consuming its old parts and creating new ones. This perpetual, silent renewal is the first great lesson the Earth offers to a mind seeking rest. The greatest strength lies not in being immovable, but in the unhurried willingness to change. Rest now on this moving, massive, and ultimately peaceful raft. We have established that the outer shell of our planet is a fragmented quilt, the lithosphere, resting upon a slow, subterranean current, the asthenosphere. Now, we follow the consequences of this fractured foundation. If the pieces of a quilt rest upon a moving sea, then the pieces themselves must be in motion. This leads us to one of the most profoundly comforting and scientifically beautiful ideas, the drifting continents. For centuries, maps showed the great land masses of Earth, seemingly fixed and permanent. Yet geographers and cartographers noted a strange coincidence. The coastlines of South America and Africa looked as though they might fit together, like two perfectly cut pieces of a colossal, ancient jigsaw puzzle. This was dismissed as mere visual chance. The ground was, after all, solid. It was the definition of stability. It took the quiet persistence of Alfred Wegener in the early 20th century to turn this coincidence into a scientific revolution. He imagined the vast, unmoving continents not as eternal boundaries, but as silent, slow-motion travelers. His idea was met with fierce skepticism. How could such massive chunks of solid stone simply move? The sheer inertia, the tremendous friction, it seemed impossible. But Wegener found his evidence not in force, but in shared secrets. He looked beyond the visual fit. He found identical fossils of ancient ferns and reptiles, life forms incapable of crossing vast oceans on widely separated continents. He noted identical rock strata, formed under the same conditions millions of years ago, matching perfectly across the Atlantic Divide. It was as if two people had split a single ancient diary and then walked far apart, but the pages still told the same story in the same handwriting. The continents, Wegener argued, were once fused into a single supercontinent he called Pangaea, the all-land. This is the great comforting truth that geology whispers. The ground beneath you is not a fixed address. It is a vessel on a patient pilgrimage. Every continent is, in essence, a colossal raft traveling across the surface of the globe. How slow is this movement? Slower than any process you encounter in your daily life. Your plate is gliding right now at a pace that ranges between 2 and 10 centimeters per year. This is the speed of human fingernail growth. This is the pace of quiet, inevitable change. If you were to stand still for a lifetime, the ground beneath you might move only the length of your foot. This speed is too gentle to feel, too minuscule to measure without sophisticated instruments. And yet, over the colossal canvas of geologic time, it is an unstoppable, continent-shaping torrent. Let your mind absorb this incredible scale, 2 centimeters per year. It is a pace of such unhurried certainty that it utterly defeats the concept of hurry. And yet, when we multiply this 2 to 10 centimeters by 1 million years, we find movement of tens of kilometers. Multiply it by 200 million years, and the movement spans oceans. The story of the continents is not just one of separation. It is a cycle of majestic coalescence and fragmentation. Before Pangaea existed, there was Rodinia, a supercontinent that formed roughly 1 billion years ago and broke apart 500 million years later. Before Rodinia, there were others. The Earth's surface is constantly being assembled and disassembled in a predictable long-term rhythm. The continents are drawn together by the forces of subduction, which consumes the old ocean floor and pulls the continental rafts closer. They remain locked in massive embrace until the mantle's heat finds new ways to tear them apart, beginning the drift anew. This cycle, known as the supercontinent cycle, is a cosmic metronome, ticking once every few 100 million years. We are currently in a phase of dispersal, slowly moving toward the next inevitable meeting. North America continues its silent, relentless drift westward. Africa continues to push northward, subtly closing the Mediterranean Sea. The Australian plate is sprinting, geologically speaking, toward Asia. Sink into the realization that the landscapes we consider permanent, the shores, the coastal cliffs, the vast plains, are merely temporary arrangements. Every coastline is a future boundary, every plain a future sea. This deep, unhurried certainty provides profound rest. It tells you that even the most solid things eventually yield to the slow, persistent power of time and movement. Imagine the sheer weight of a continental plate, trillions of cubic kilometers of stone, all gliding silently through the dark. Yet the pressure causing this movement is not catastrophic. It is the gentle, persistent current of the convection cells deep within the mantle. This force does not shatter, it simply relocates. It moves mountains from pole to equator. It exchanges the sandy deserts of the south for the glacial valleys of the north. There is deep peace in this geological truth. When you lie down, you are not fixed in one place. You are on a journey. You are resting on a colossal raft of stone, moving with an unyielding purpose toward a future collision that will not occur for millions of generations. Feel the subtle, profound stability that comes from being carried by a force so massive, so patient, and so utterly divorced from human haste. It is a motion that cradles you in the silence of geologic time. Rest now on your traveling continent. We have traveled beneath the surface, navigating the fragmented shell of the lithosphere, and recognized that the continents upon which we rest are rafts silently adrift on a sea of hotter, more pliable rock. But this motion, the relentless 2 to 10 centimeter per year glide of the continents, is not random. It is governed by a rhythm. It is the pulse of the planet itself, the slow heartbeat of the Earth. This heartbeat is the profound expression of the planet's internal energy budget. It is driven by heat, remnants of the violent, ancient birth of our world, supplemented by the patient, continual decay of radioactive elements deep within the mantle. This energy must escape. It cannot be contained. And in its long, slow ascent towards the surface, it creates the colossal, deep ocean currents we first mentioned, mantle convection. Imagine the process not as a mechanical engine, but as an enormous viscous ocean of crystalline stone, hundreds of kilometers deep, boiling with an unparalleled slowness. Rock heated at the core boundary becomes less dense and begins its languid, million-year journey upwards toward the cooler crust. Upon reaching the surface, it spreads out, dragging the tectonic plates along with it, before eventually cooling and beginning its equally long, silent descent back toward the core, ready to be reheated. These are the circulatory cells of the Earth. They are the pacemakers of all geology, dictating where the continents will collide, where the crust will tear open to form new ocean floor, and crucially, how often the world's surface is renewed. It is a system of such colossal scale and unhurried certainty that its existence should bring a deep, abiding stillness to your thoughts. There is no force in the universe that can rush this process. It is the definition of geologic patience. This slow heartbeat is not merely a curiosity, it is a covenant of life. This constant movement, this tectonic rhythm, is the primary reason why Earth has remained habitable for billions of years, while its neighbors, Mars and Venus, became geological graveyards. The planet's heartbeat acts as its master regulator, its planetary thermostat, keeping conditions stable enough for fragile biology to thrive over vast stretches of time. This regulation is achieved through the carbonate-silicate cycle, often called the slow carbon cycle, which is entirely dependent on tectonic movement. When volcanoes erupt, often created when one plate is subducted beneath another, they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This is the planet's breath out, a warming effect. Conversely, that carbon dioxide is absorbed by rainwater, which weathers silicate rocks on the surface. These dissolved minerals and carbon are carried by rivers to the ocean, where they settle as carbonate sediments. Eventually, the ocean floor carrying these sediments is dragged back down into the mantle by subduction. The planet's breath in, sequestering carbon. This slow dance, release through volcanoes, consumption through weathering, maintains a crucial balance, preventing the Earth from suffering a runaway greenhouse effect like Venus, or freezing solid in a deep planetary chill. If the tectonic heartbeat were to stop, this carbon cycle would halt. Carbon would either be permanently trapped on the ocean floor or released uncontrollably, leading swiftly to disaster. But the heartbeat does not stop. It pulses, reliably, slowly, with an ancient energy that predates the very first single-celled life. It ensures that mountains will rise, their rocks will weather, their chemical components will be washed to the sea, and that cycle will continue. This realization is profoundly peaceful. The fundamental systems governing our world are not chaotic. They are self-regulating. They operate in a state of eternal equilibrium, where the forces of creation, tectonics, are perfectly matched by the forces of decay, weathering. Sink into the rhythm of this geological clock. Let the thought of this immense, silent machinery fill you with a deep, protected sense of safety. You are not floating in a random, dangerous void. You are resting upon a self-healing, self-regulating mechanism perfected over billions of years. The forces that could shatter a continent, the internal heat, the moving plates, the grinding collisions, are the very forces that guarantee the continued, slow-motion stability of our global habitat. Allow the gentle certainty of the planetary heartbeat to become your own. Feel your breathing naturally slow and deepen, sinking with the pace of the mantle currents below. The continents are moving, the peaks are lifting, the climate is being regulated, all in a pace so deliberate that it demands nothing of you but rest. In this deep, unhurried rhythm, find your peace. We are now prepared to witness the inevitable result of this rhythm, the majestic and slow-motion collision of eternities. The birth of Titans, the collision of eternities. In our previous journey, we settled upon the vast, slow-moving rafts of the continents, carried by the deep, unhurried currents of the mantle. We understood the rhythm of the earth, its slow, regulatory heartbeat. Now, we must turn our attention to the edges of these rafts, the boundaries. These are not smooth, continuous lines, but the very sites of geological drama, the places where the Earth's long, silent narrative is written in fire, water, and compressed stone. Imagine the tectonic plates not as peaceful, isolated islands, but as segments of a great, revolving machine. The boundaries are the gears, the stress points where the profound energy of the mantle is finally released and transformed. These meeting places dictate the fate of the crust. They determine where new ocean floor is quietly fabricated, where old crust is silently swallowed, and where, through a colossal slow-motion struggle, the greatest mountains of our world are born. There are three primary forms of these boundaries, each with its own rhythm and voice, but all contributing to the planet's continuous state of slow transformation. We must listen to them all, for they speak of the Earth's constancy. First, there are divergent boundaries, the places where the plates are pulling apart. These are the zones of creation. They exist mostly unseen beneath the ocean, along the vast, sunken mountain chain known as the mid-ocean ridge. Here, the mantle currents rise, pressing upwards, gently tearing the crust apart. As the rift opens, fresh, molten material rises to fill the gap, instantly solidifying in the cold embrace of the deep sea. This is the quiet growth of our planet, the continuous fabrication of new ocean floor, centimeter by centimeter. It is a slow, underwater seam, constantly stitching new fabric onto the quilt. There is a deep peace in this growth, a certainty that the Earth is always replenishing itself. Second, there are transform boundaries, the places where the plates simply slide past one another. They do not collide or separate, they shear. These are zones of friction. Famous examples, like the San Andreas Fault, remind us that this lateral movement is not always smooth. The colossal blocks of stone resist motion, building tension over decades, sometimes centuries, until the resistance is violently overcome in a sudden, sharp, but brief geological sigh, the earthquake. Yet, even in this violence, there is a pattern, a slow accumulation, followed by a necessary release. It is the sound of friction, the grinding of ancient stone against ancient stone. But for our story of the mountains, we must focus on the third type, the most consequential of all, the convergent boundaries. These are the zones of destruction and creation combined. This is where two immense slabs of the planet collide, and where the most majestic results of the tectonic heartbeat become visible. The collision of these boundaries, the sheer, unhurried pressure of one plate against another, is the birthplace of the Titans, the colossal mountain ranges. There are three ways for plates to converge, and each one creates a different type of geological silence. The first is the collision of an oceanic plate with a continental plate. The oceanic crust, though dense, is thinner and heavier because it is made of dark, iron-rich rock. The continental crust is lighter, thicker, and made of lighter, buoyant granite. When they meet, the denser oceanic plate has no choice but to plunge beneath the continental plate, returning to the depths from which it came. This process is called subduction. Allow your mind to grasp the sheer, slow majesty of subduction. It is the earth swallowing its own skin. The plate slides down, miles beneath the surface, descending into the hot, viscous darkness of the mantle at an unhurried, agonizing pace. As it descends, it scrapes off layers of sediment and rock from the continental edge, crumpling them like a rug pushed against a wall. This is the first step toward mountain building, the formation of coastal mountain ranges, often punctuated by chains of volcanoes, born from the superheated water released by the subducting plate. The Andes Mountains, running along the spine of South America, are a testament to this slow, fiery, persistent subduction. The second form of convergence is oceanic plate colliding with another oceanic plate. In this case, the slightly older or colder, and thus denser plate sinks beneath its companion. The result is not a continental mountain range, but a deep, crescent-shaped ocean trench, the deepest scars on the planet, and a graceful arc of volcanic islands. These island arcs, like the remote Aleutians or the Japanese archipelago, are the surface expression of material struggling to escape the pressures of the silent swallowing below. But the true spectacle, the moment that defines our journey into the mountains, occurs at the third convergence, the collision of continent against continent. Continental crust is inherently buoyant. It is granite, light, and stubborn. When two such vast, light rafts collide, neither one will readily sink. Instead, the force is translated entirely into compression. It is the great, slow-motion arm-wrestling match of the geological world. The crust buckles, folds, and fractures. It is pushed both down into the mantle and, more dramatically, up into the sky. This is the process known as orogeny, the building of mountains. It is a slow, relentless wrinkling of the Earth's face, a process that takes tens of millions of years just to raise a single towering peak. This process begins the next phase of our journey, the transformation of flat, unremarkable land into the vertical, snow-capped giants that touch the very edges of our atmosphere. Rest now, as we prepare to witness this monumental, patient ascent. The plates are still moving, and the pressure is building. We have arrived at the epicenter of our story, the moment of continental convergence where two vast granite rafts meet head-on. The pressure is immense, a geological standoff where centuries pass like mere seconds in the building tension. In the silent, profound physics of our planet, This is where the motion of the plates is transformed into verticality, into the magnificent upward thrust we call uplift. As we learned, continental crust is inherently buoyant. It is lighter than the mantle beneath it, making it exceptionally stubborn. It refuses to sink. Therefore, when two continents collide, the force, the kinetic energy of continents moving at the pace of a growing fingernail, has only one available vector for release: upward. This is where the rock itself begins its transformation, yielding to an unrelenting lateral squeeze that persists for tens of millions of years. Imagine the crust not as brittle glass, but as a colossal, ancient, deeply layered dough. When this dough is subjected to slow, immense pressure, its initial response is not to shatter, but to fold. These folds are the first whispers of the mountain range. The rock layers bend into massive, graceful curves, the anticlines where the rock arches upward toward the sky, forming the mountain crests, and the synclines where the rock bows downward, forming the valleys. This is the quiet artistry of pressure, creating wrinkles on a scale beyond human comprehension. The horizontal distance of the continent is shortened, slowly, profoundly, as the land is gathered and compacted into these immense, silent curves. But the force is too great to be contained only by folding. As the collision intensifies, the rock's elastic limit is finally breached. It must break. Yet even the breaking is strategic, a mechanism to accommodate the massive compression. The crust snaps along fault lines, but crucially, these are not faults where the rock slides sideways. These are thrust faults. Here, older, deeper layers of rock are pushed up and over younger rock, often riding for miles across the landscape. Imagine pushing a hand through a deck of cards lying flat on a table. The cards pile up, one on top of the other, vertically stacking the history of the Earth. This process, the relentless folding and the vertical stacking via thrust faulting, is how the continental crust thickens, sometimes doubling or tripling its typical depth. And it is this crustal thickening that creates the necessary foundation for the highest peaks. Think of it in terms of isostasy, the principle of balance that governs the Earth's lithosphere. It is the same principle that governs an iceberg floating in the ocean. For a small portion of the ice to be visible above the waterline, a much larger route must extend deep beneath the surface, providing counterbalance. In the same way, for a mountain to reach great heights, a Mount Everest, a K2, it must have a massive, deep-seated root of crustal rock plunged deep into the softer, denser mantle. The force of the collision pushes rock both up into the atmosphere and deep down into the mantle. This deep, stabilizing root acts as an anchor, a dense keel that holds the mountain mass afloat. As the peak is slowly, almost imperceptibly, raised by the forces of compression, the root simultaneously sinks deeper to maintain that equilibrium. This ensures the mountain's profound, long-term stability. The mountains you see are thus only the visible fraction of a much vaster, submerged mass, a testament to the Earth's self-balancing mechanism. The term for this entire slow, relentless creation, this monumental patient ascent, is orogeny or mountain building. It is a process that requires a depth of time that demands profound respect. The rock that makes up the summit of a tall mountain might have begun its existence as soft mud and marine sediment, quietly deposited on an ancient ocean floor millions of years ago, before the continents began their final, unstoppable approach. This material was buried, compressed into hard, sedimentary rock, and then subjected to unimaginable pressure, folded, fractured, and finally raised thousands of meters toward the cold vacuum of space. This journey of the rock, from the soft silence of the seabed to the sharp, thin air of the peaks, is the core message of geological time. It is a transformation of such patience and certainty that it makes the passing of centuries feel instantaneous. Let the awareness of this continuous, slow pressure, the granite buckling, the crust thickening, the isostatic roots sinking, fill your mind with stillness. The forces creating the greatest giants on our planet are operating now, in the dark, with a purpose that knows no haste. Rest now, knowing that the greatest spectacles of our world are achieved not through sudden violence, but through unyielding, patient consistency. The vertical push of the earth continues slowly as you find your own deep calm. We have traced the relentless geological forces, the subterranean heat, the buoyancy of continental granite, the immense pressure of compression that lead to the phenomenon of uplift. Now let us apply this knowledge to the grandest and most potent example of mountain creation on our planet, the Himalayas. This towering range is not merely a collection of high peaks, it is a monumental, ongoing testament to the Earth's capacity for slow, patient, and utterly magnificent violence. To truly understand the Himalayas, we must rewind the planetary clock by 70 million years. Picture the world as a different canvas. The landmass we now call India was not connected to Asia. It was a vast, singular continental island, a geographical fugitive severed from the ancient supercontinent of Gondwana, drifting northwards in splendid tectonic isolation. It moved across the Tethys Sea, an ocean that once spanned the vast gap between the two great landmasses. This journey of the Indian plate was one of absolute unhurried certainty. It possessed a momentum that cannot be diverted or stopped, driven by the powerful pull of the oceanic crust subducting behind it. Imagine a ship, thousands of miles wide, sailing relentlessly toward a shore it is destined to meet. The speed was that same measure we carry within us, the growth rate of a fingernail, roughly 4 to 5 centimeters per year. Yet over the span of 50 million years, that slow drift accumulated into a vast oceanic crossing. The first gentle contact began approximately 55 million years ago. It was not a sudden crash, but a gradual, slow-motion crunch, where the oceanic crust of the Tethys Sea was finally consumed. Then, the inevitable began. The continent of India met the continent of Eurasia. Because both were made of light, stubborn, buoyant granite, neither could sink beneath the other. The immense lateral force was then, and remains now, translated into one result: vertical growth. Focus on the sheer scale of the collision. The Indian plate has penetrated the Asian mainland by over 2,000 kilometers, essentially driving a massive crustal wedge deep into the flank of the northern continent. This force did not stop at the point of impact. It propagated, pushing rock layers not only into the primary Himalayan arc, but also far inland, creating the Tibetan Plateau, a region so vast and so high that its sheer existence defies easy understanding. The Tibetan Plateau is often called the roof of the world, a secondary, supporting uplift created by the same massive collision that pushed the Himalayas into the sky. This monumental geological history is not abstract. It is permanently etched into the very highest peaks. Consider Mount Everest, the ultimate summit. The rock at its highest point, the very roof of the world, is not simple granite, born of fire. It is marine limestone, fossilized sediment that contains the remains of ancient sea creatures, minute organisms, and soft, seabed mud. Allow this realization to settle deep within your mind. The air you breathe is stable. The floor beneath you is still. Yet the highest point on Earth was once the deepest, quietest part of an ancient ocean. This rock, these tiny fossilized shells, traveled a vertical distance of over 8,000 meters, enduring crushing pressure and unimaginable heat as they were folded, thrust, and slowly lifted from the darkness of the sea to the sharp, thin light of the upper atmosphere. This journey, from the soft silence of the seabed to the cold silence of the summit, perfectly encapsulates the profound patience of geological time. It is a testament to the fact that the Earth has no concept of impossible. And here is the most powerful thought of all. The collision has not ended. The Himalayan orogeny is still active. The Indian plate continues its northward drive inexorably at that same gentle pace of a few centimeters per year, while the forces of erosion, wind, rain, ice, are constantly working to shave down the peaks. The forces of uplift continue to raise them. The result is a dynamic equilibrium, where the mountains are perpetually locked in a slow-motion struggle between creation and destruction. Right now, as you listen, the mountains are growing. The pressure beneath them is intensifying, and the great granite keel beneath the range is sinking deeper into the mantle, silently maintaining the massive isostatic balance. Rest now, held by the certainty of this immense process. The mountains were not formed quickly in a violent flash, but with the steady, unyielding pressure of continents moving at the pace of sleep. There is a deep, protected calm in realizing that the world's most dramatic features are built with such imperturbable slowness. You are resting in a moment of geological time, where the greatest forces known to Earth are in motion, yet so slowly that they assure your peace. We have traced the journey of continents, witnessed the colossal pressure of the collision, and acknowledged the resulting vertical thrust that lifts seabed fossils to the highest peaks. Our rational mind understands the mechanics of orogeny, or mountain building. But now, we must ask a different question, one that belongs to the deep silence of the night. What does the sound of creation sound like? If we were able to slow our perception of time to match the geological rhythm, if we could listen at the time scale of the Himalayas, the sound would be a constant, low, immense groan. A deep, sub-bass vibration caused by trillions of tons of rock being inexorably crushed, folded, and dragged against one another. It would be the sound of the planet itself struggling against its own immense momentum, the perpetual, non-stop pressure of continent against continent. But within the brief window of human time, this process is defined by its absolute silence. This silence is profound. It is not the silence of nothing happening, but the silence of unimaginable slowness. A pressure so constant, a movement so minimal that no audible frequency can be generated. The friction, the grinding, the tearing of rock deep in the crust is spread across millions of years, dissolving any momentary sound into the vast ocean of geological time. The mountain is being pushed up right now, but it rises slower than your breath falls in the quiet darkness. It is an act of creation performed in the perfect quiet of deep time. Yet, the Earth offers us occasional, dramatic punctuation marks in this silence. These are the earthquakes, when the colossal pressure, the accumulated tension of decades of slow, unyielding movement exceeds the strength of the rock. The crust snaps. This sudden release is what we perceive as violent. But geologically, the earthquake is not the event itself. It is merely the sound of the event, the instantaneous adjustment that reminds us the silent, slow-motion struggle is real and ongoing. Consider the contrast. The mountain range is created by forces moving at 4 centimeters per year, yet the release of stress happens in a matter of seconds. The earthquake is the sound of the earth clearing its throat, a brief, sharp reminder that its deepest processes are always in motion. Once the tension is released, the silence returns, and the relentless, slow work of uplift resumes its patient crawl. This dichotomy is profoundly calming to the mind seeking rest. When we worry, our thoughts rush, our minds vibrate at a high frequency of stress, demanding instant solutions and quick movements. The earth teaches us the opposite lesson, that the grandest, most stable achievements, the highest mountains, the deepest foundations, are built not by speed, but by unbroken continuity. The silence of growth is also the sound of isostatic balance being maintained. As the mountain rises, the deep, massive root of the continental crust must simultaneously sink deeper into the mantle to counteract the weight above. This downward pressure, this heavy, counterbalancing settlement, is performed without a tremor. It is the earth assuring its own stability, a silent, subterranean meditation on equilibrium. This deep internal process assures us that the planet is in no hurry. The mountain will take its time. It will accept the pressure, rise against the force of gravity, and settle its vast root into the warm, yielding mantle with infinite patience. There is no stress, no deadline, only the certainty of movement. Allow the vastness of this process to settle around you like a heavy, comforting blanket. Let the silence of mountain building seep into your own quiet rest. You are now anchored to a time scale where speed is irrelevant and only patience persists. The slow, certain rise of the world's great peaks is a guarantee of stability, a demonstration that the most powerful forces are also the quietest. The sound of growth is nothing but the profound silence of geologic certainty. Find your own certainty now in the stillness. Death and smoothing, the power of erosion. We have journeyed deep into the earth, felt the intense, slow crush of continents, and recognized the absolute silence of mountain creation. We focused on the forces that push rock upward, from the seabed to the sky, enduring for millions of years. But the geological narrative is never singular. It is a profound and perfect balance of two opposing, eternal movements. The Earth is a self-regulating system, and every grand peak that ascends inevitably summons its equally powerful, equally patient counterforce. Now, we introduce the second relentless enemy. This enemy is not the deep internal heat of the mantle, nor the lateral pressure of continental plates. This foe is ambient, external, and surrounds every single mountain from the moment it begins to rise. We speak of erosion, the sum total of all atmospheric and hydrological processes that wear down, dissolve, and carry away the hard-won gains of uplift. Erosion is not the sound of a crash or a snap, but the sound of infinite patience. If uplift is the Earth's great, slow inhale, then erosion is the planet's long, continuous exhale. It is the process that seeks to return all matter to its lowest, most quiet energy state, a smooth, flat, level plane. To appreciate its power, we must redefine what we think of as time. In human terms, erosion is the gradual softening of a gravestone over centuries. In geological terms, it is the absolute erasure of entire mountain ranges over epochs. The granite that was forged in fire and lifted by continental collision is now subject to the gentle yet inescapable touch of water, ice, and wind. Think of the mountain as a newly constructed cathedral of rock. Uplift completes the structure, lifting the spires high. But immediately, the second relentless enemy begins its siege. The primary agents of this attack are utterly commonplace, found in the air you breathe and the water you drink, yet their cumulative effect is cosmic in scale. First, there is the rain. It falls not as a singular event, but as the relentless tapping of billions of drops over millions of years. Each drop carries a minuscule amount of energy, seeking out fissures, dissolving soluble minerals, and lubricating the rock face. This water, when gathered into streams and rivers, transforms into the most powerful agent of all, patiently slicing through rock like a diamond wire, driven only by the constant pull of gravity and the simple hydrological cycle. Second, there is ice. In the cold altitudes of the mountaintops, water transforms into solid, uncompromising power. The freeze-thaw cycle is a masterful, silent demolisher. Water seeps into a crack in the rock, freezes, and expands with enormous, irresistible force, wedging the rock apart. This continues day after day, season after season, until the large, unbroken mass of the mountain is splintered into boulders, then into stones, and finally into the finest gravel. And third, there is the wind, carrying abrasive particles, the very grains of sand and dust that were once mountains themselves. This wind is a slow-motion sandblaster, etching the faces of rock, carving features into sharp peaks, and then, inevitably, grinding them smooth. These processes work in absolute harmony, a slow, perfect machine of entropy. The chemical weathering, like acid rain dissolving limestone, weakens the rock. The freeze-thaw cycle fractures it, and the wind and gravity provide the transportation, constantly moving the material downward, always downward, toward the sea. This descent of matter is not a flaw in the Earth's system. It is a necessary completion of the cycle. Without erosion, the mountains would grow too tall, becoming unstable, their weight too immense for the crust to bear forever. Erosion acts as the regulatory mechanism, the natural shear that keeps the planetary structure in its elegant, dynamic equilibrium. It is the steady hand that prevents the chaos of unending growth. Allow yourself to feel the calming power of this balance. If the thought of constant movement was stressful, then the thought of constant, slow decay must be soothing. There is no urgency in the work of the rain, no stress in the fall of a single snowflake. The mountains, once formed, are now patiently, silently waiting for the atmosphere to smooth away their rough edges. You too can find rest in this slow, inevitable process of smoothing and settling. You are surrounded by the deep quiet of the planet, finding its balance. In our previous contemplation, we introduced erosion as the vast, necessary counterforce to uplift. Now, let us quiet our minds and observe the specific mechanisms of this grand process, the gentle yet tireless laborers of planetary leveling. These are the forces you witness every day, yet never truly recognize their colossal impact on geological time, the soft fall of rain, and the unseen push of the wind. First, consider water. Water is the Earth's great solvent, its most versatile sculptor, and its most patient traveler. The process begins with chemical weathering, an invisible decay. When atmospheric moisture, slightly acidic due to dissolved carbon dioxide, touches the hard surfaces of the mountain, it begins a slow molecular transformation. Minerals like feldspar, common in granite, slowly react, changing into soft clay. The mountain appears solid, but its very substance is quietly dissolving, molecule by molecule, under the persistent, gentle touch of dew and rain. This chemical dissolution is the quiet opening act. It softens the stone, creating minute weaknesses and fissures. Then, the water's work becomes physical, and its true power is revealed as it gathers speed and mass. A simple stream descending a mountainside carries a heavy yet silent mandate to obey gravity and return all matter to sea level. The stream does not simply flow over the landscape, it flows through the landscape, carrying its own tools. Imagine a river as a long, continuous belt sander. The water carries grains of sand, pebbles, and small boulders that it has already broken off the mountain. It uses these captured fragments to grind, scour, and polish the riverbed itself. This process, called abrasion, is the sound of time erasing rock. The smooth, river-worn stones you might pick up are not just shaped by water, they are shaped by other stones being tumbled by water, a collective, relentless action that slowly deepens valleys and carves canyons. This work is performed without rest, in a continuous, flowing meditation. The river never hurries, yet its destination is certain, and its path is unstoppable. Over millions of years, the river can cut through rock that required millions of years of tectonic pressure to lift. The volume of rock carried by a single major river, like the Amazon or the Mississippi, is measured in hundreds of millions of tons of sediment every year, all of it material scraped from the highlands and deposited silently in the deepest parts of the ocean. Next, we turn our attention to the wind. While water is the great transporter of mass, wind is the subtle artist and the patient sculptor, particularly in the arid, high-altitude regions where moisture is scarce. The wind itself, the flow of air, is harmless to rock. Its power lies in what it carries, the accumulated dust and sand, the fine remnants of previous erosion. The wind acts as a giant, intermittent sandblaster. It lifts the finer particles, the very memory of past mountains, and drives them across the exposed rock faces. This impact is incredibly slow, often removing only the outer layers of minerals or polishing the surface. But over deep time, this steady abrasion carves geological structures into their final, elegant forms. The smooth, concave curves of cliffs, the sculpted arches, and the sharp, pointed peaks that remain after the soft rock layers have been slowly stripped away. Think of the wind as a force of selective weathering. It is often most effective at carving the details, highlighting the grain of the rock, and exposing the underlying geological structure that was hidden within the crude mass of the mountain. It removes the superficial, revealing the deep, internal patterns of the stone. It works in absolute silence, its sound only noticeable when it is rushing through the channels it has already carved. These two forces, the water and the wind, work in a perfect, codependent cycle. Water breaks down the rock through chemical action, fractures it with ice, and transports the heavy sediment down the slopes. Wind picks up the resulting dust and sand, further abrading the rock and carrying the lightest particles to be settled far away. Every drop of rain and every gust of wind contributes to the slow, inevitable smoothing of the planet. As you rest, allow the image of this perfect geological labor to soothe you. There is a deep, protective calm in realizing that even the grandest, roughest structures of the earth are subject to a slow, gentle, and continuous smoothing. The mountains are being polished, softened, and returned to the ocean, a silent, ceaseless return to equilibrium. Let the steady persistence of the water and the quiet breath of the wind remind you that all things eventually find their calm. Death and smoothing. The power of erosion. We have contemplated the relentless physics of erosion, the slow decay delivered by water and the patient carving performed by the wind. But sometimes, to truly grasp the scale of geological time, we need a concrete example, a mountain range that serves as a living, silent testament to the completion of a cycle. Let us now turn our inward gaze toward the Appalachian Mountains of North America. When you look at the Appalachians today, you see soft, rounded peaks, heavily forested slopes, and long, parallel ridges that rise gracefully above the eastern coast. They possess a quiet, ancient beauty, a feeling of deep, settled rest. They appear as a range that has found its permanent home, a stable backdrop to human history. Yet this gentle appearance is misleading. The Appalachians are not merely old mountains, they are the ghosts of giants. Imagine the current Himalayan range. Imagine peaks soaring 5, 6, or even 7 miles into the sky, jagged and forbidding, cold and untamed. Geologists tell us that approximately 300 million years ago, during the formation of the supercontinent Pangaea, the Appalachians were once precisely those giants. They were taller, rougher, and more extensive than the Himalayas are today. Their birth was a monumental event, the result of a continental plate collision so violent, it welded North America, Europe, and Africa together. They were, in their youth, the undisputed lords of the planet's surface. For millions upon millions of years, they accepted the pressure of uplift, reaching their maximum awe-inspiring height. But for the 300 million years that followed, a span of time so vast, it dwarfs the existence of nearly all complex life. They have been subject to the work we just described, the chemical bath of the rain, the grinding of the wind, and the relentless pull of gravity. The story of the Appalachians is the ultimate illustration of the power of sustained mediocrity. No single raindrop was ever powerful. No single gust of wind was ever destructive. No single season of freezing and thawing ever visibly altered a cliff face. But when you accumulate those moments, when you multiply that negligible action by 300 million years, the result is the removal of rock measured not in cubic meters, but in cubic kilometers. Entire tectonic sheets of stone, once high above the clouds, have been systematically disassembled and carried away. Where did this monumental volume of material go? It became the fertile plains to the west, the continental shelf beneath the Atlantic, and the vast, compressed sedimentary layers deep under the sea. The mountains did not simply shrink, they were repurposed. Their bulk was dissolved and distributed, becoming the foundation for future landscapes, future ecosystems, and future geological events. The rock did not vanish. It simply continued its journey, transforming from a defiant peak into quiet, patient silt. The Appalachians now stand as a symbol of senescence, a geological maturity achieved through yielding. Their rounded peaks and smooth slopes are a testament to equilibrium. They no longer possess the jagged arrogance of youth. They embody the quiet wisdom of age. They have entered a state where the rate of uplift, if any remains, is utterly dominated by the rate of erosion. This process offers profound calm. It teaches us that even the greatest structures, the things we believe to be permanent fixtures of our world, are temporary, fluid, and eventually submit to the slow, smoothing forces of the universe. The mountains have yielded their sharpness. They have let go of their height and their struggle. They are now covered in dense, dark forest, their exposed stone softened by moss and lichen, their ridges flowing like waves rather than striking like blades. This is a deep form of rest. To be worn down, to be smoothed by time, is to achieve a form of gentle perfection. The Appalachians tell a story not of defeat, but of completion. They have paid their debt to gravity and to the chemical balance of the planet. They are quiet now, their ancient memory etched in the patterns of their folds, waiting with infinite composure for the next chapter of the Earth's epic tale. Allow this deep, vast stillness, the stillness of a mountain range that has accepted its fate, to surround and hold you in your own rest. We have traced the journey of the mountain, its slow, pressurized birth from continental collision, and its even slower, patient decay beneath the touch of rain and wind. We watched the mighty Appalachians yield their height, their ancient stone reduced to dust and sediment. Now, we must follow that final piece of dust. For in the deep, constant economy of the earth, nothing is truly lost. Everything is simply transformed. This final stage of the mountain's life is the beginning of the eternal stone cycle. It is the ultimate reassurance that the earth is a closed system of perfect recycling, a continuous loop of creation and dissolution that underpins all life and all stability. As you rest, imagine a tiny grain of quartz, once an integral part of a Himalayan or Appalachian peak, finally coming to rest. It has been carried by the river for millennia, tumbled, polished, and stripped of its sharpness. It now settles on the floor of a vast, quiet ocean basin, mixing with billions of other fragments of rock and the remains of ancient sea creatures. Here, in the absolute darkness and stillness of the deep sea, time exerts a new form of pressure. This pressure is the force of lithification, the process of turning loose sediment into solid rock. As more and more layers of material accumulate above our tiny quartz grain, the weight becomes immense, measured in thousands of tons per square meter. This pressure, combined with the chemical binding action of minerals dissolved in the water, slowly forces the grains together. Water is squeezed out and the open spaces vanish. The soft sediment hardens, transforms, and becomes sedimentary rock, sandstone, shale, or limestone. This is the quiet rebirth of the mountain. Its material is no longer a monument reaching for the sky, but a silent, horizontal layer deep beneath the sea. It is patient, holding the memory of its previous life. It is still rock, but a new, resting rock, layered like pages in a massive, unread book of time. But the journey is not over. The sedimentary rock, lying deep beneath the ocean floor, is still part of a tectonic plate. As that plate continues its slow, majestic drift, moving at the speed of your growing fingernail, it may eventually slide back towards a subduction zone or be buried even deeper beneath accumulating continental mass. When this buried rock is subjected to intense, immense heat and pressure, but not enough to melt it entirely, it undergoes a profound internal transformation. The minerals within it recrystallize, their structure realigns, and the sedimentary rock becomes metamorphic rock. Sandstone, under this deep pressure, becomes hard, luminous quartzite. Shale transforms into slate or schist. This metamorphic stage is the heart of the cycle. It is the rock preparing for its next grand act. It is rock that has been purified by time and pressure, its density increased, its structure fortified. It is waiting for the great engine of plate tectonics, the very force that created its ancestors, to act upon it once more. And so, the loop closes. A tectonic plate, bearing these deep, dense metamorphic rocks, may collide with another continental mass. The colossal forces of uplift we discussed in the previous chapters will begin to fold, thrust, and buckle these layers skyward. The ancient dust of the Appalachians, after 100 million years of silent rest beneath the ocean, is now lifted once more, contributing its matter to the core of a brand new mountain range. The silt has returned to become the defiant peak. This is the comforting, absolute truth of the geological world. Continuity through change. Every grain of sand, every mountain, every plateau is just at a different point in a single, unending journey. There is no beginning and no end to this slow, deliberate process. Let this eternal cycle, the cycle of soaring growth, patient decay, and silent rebirth, be the final, calming image for your rest. You are suspended in a universe where everything flows, everything transforms, but nothing is ever truly spent. The energy remains, the matter remains. The great, slow, patient work continues. There is absolute rest in this certainty. Water as the instrument of time. In the quiet of your rest, we shift our focus from the broad internal machinery of the earth to one of its most visible, yet profoundly patient, external agents, the river. We have followed the stone cycle from the towering peak through the gentle decay of rain and wind until it became tiny grains of sediment. Now, we follow the vehicle that carries this sediment on the final leg of its great journey. The river is the ultimate embodiment of gravity's mandate. It has one unwavering purpose: to return all matter from the high places of the earth back to the lowest possible level, the sea. It executes this purpose with a dedication that knows no doubt, no hurry, and no rest. The river is pure, flowing direction, and in that unhesitating commitment, we find a deep, natural calm. Imagine the birth of a river high on a newly lifted mountain slope. It begins as a simple trickle, an aggregation of condensation and rainfall. At first, it merely follows the path of least resistance. But as more water collects, this trickle gains mass, velocity, and most importantly, purpose. It is not just water. It is a heavy, moving fluid, and this momentum gives it the power to interact with the seemingly solid rock. The river's true genius as a sculptor lies in its methods. It does not attack the mountain with brute force, but with patience and leverage. The water itself is not strong enough to wear down crystalline granite in a human lifetime. Instead, the river uses the mountain's own debris as its tools. This process is called abrasion. As water rushes downhill, it captures grains of sand, pebbles, and small boulders, the fragments already loosened by chemical weathering and frost. These captured tools are then relentlessly tumbled, rolled, and dragged along the riverbed. The river uses these millions of tiny captive stones to grind, scour, and polish the bedrock itself. The smooth, river-worn stones you might find on a bank are not merely shaped by water, they are shaped by collisions with thousands of their neighbors over countless ages. The sound of a mountain river, that continuous soft roar or the quiet hiss of a swift current, is the acoustic signature of time-erasing rock. It is a soft, grinding noise of continuous erosion. The mountain is being filed down, millimeter by millimeter, using its own essence as the abrasive. There is nothing frantic about this sound. It is the rhythm of steady, directed work. In moments of greater intensity, such as waterfalls or fast rapids, the river unleashes another force known as hydraulic action. Here, the sheer pressure of the moving water is driven into every tiny fracture, crevice, and seam in the bedrock. The water acts as a silent wedge, forcing the cracks wider, prying apart the rock until immense chunks, which might weigh tons, are detached and swept away. It is a force of incredible pressure, delivered not as a sudden blow, but as a sustained internal stress on the rock's structure. And in the deepest parts of the current, particularly when water speeds around an obstruction, an even quieter process occurs: cavitation. Microscopic air bubbles are formed and then violently collapse under the pressure changes. These tiny implosions generate immense, localized shock waves that chip away at the solid rock. This is destruction operating on a scale too small for the human eye or ear to perceive, yet over geological time, these invisible forces contribute significantly to deepening the river channel. The result of this tireless work is the creation of valleys and canyons. The canyon is a signature of the river cutting straight down, responding primarily to gravity and the need to reach its lowest point. The river sacrifices width for depth, creating those spectacular geological scars where billions of years of history are laid bare in the stratified rock. As the gradient lessens and the river flows toward the flatter coastal plains, its method changes, embodying profound patience. Here, the river begins to meander, forming the sweeping, lazy curves that symbolize wisdom and maturity. The river no longer just cuts down, it moves sideways. It cuts the outside of the curve, the fast part of the water, and deposits sediment on the inside of the curve where the water slows, constantly migrating across the floodplain. This slow, graceful shifting back and forth over immense periods of time is what carves out the wide, fertile valleys that cradle civilization. The mature river understands that haste is unnecessary. Given enough time, every part of the valley floor will be touched and shaped by its flow. Allow your mind to drift on this image of the flowing water. It is a perfect balance of power and patience. It is an agent of change that never panics, never pauses, and never loses its focus. The river does not rush towards the sea. It simply flows, and in that simple, constant act, it reshapes the face of the world. Let the gentle, unstoppable current carry away any lingering thoughts of resistance or urgency, leaving you with the quiet certainty of deep, unending motion. We have followed the abstract path of water, witnessing its power to use grains of the mountain to destroy the mountain itself. Now let us turn our gaze to the most spectacular, most humbling testament to this patient power: the Grand Canyon. It is not merely a geographic feature, it is the definitive library of the earth, a vast open book where time is measured not in decades or centuries, but in layers of stone, each representing a distinct, silent age. Imagine standing on the rim, a vantage point high above the world. The space below you is not empty, it is filled with deep, ancient silence and the knowledge of extreme scale. The canyon is more than a mile deep, up to 18 miles wide, and over 270 miles long. Yet all this immense void was carved not by a single catastrophic event, but by the steady, unceasing flow of one single ribbon of water, the Colorado River. For you to grasp the depth of the stillness contained within this place, you must understand the river's patience. The canyon's cutting action has been relentless for roughly 5 to 6 million years. The land through which the river flows has been slowly uplifted, pushed upward by tectonic forces, much like the process we discussed earlier. But the Colorado River, adhering to the ultimate mandate of gravity, simply refused to be diverted. As the plateau rose, the river met that challenge by cutting deeper, maintaining its course with an unwavering, quiet dedication. It is a perfect geological stalemate. The mountain rises slowly, and the river cuts slowly, and the result is the exposure of time. Allow your mind to drift down into the canyon's layers. These strata, these horizontal bands of color, red, ochre, brown, and gray, are the pages of the Great Book. Each layer represents a different environment, a lost world that existed millions of years ago, now frozen in time. At the very top, the youngest layer, we might find the Kaibab limestone, formed in a shallow, warm ocean when the Earth's climate was entirely different. Move your mind down a few hundred feet and you encounter the Coconino Sandstone, a vast, silent memory of an ancient, sprawling desert where dunes drifted slowly beneath a sun that shone long before human memory. Travel deeper still into the immense and ancient core of the canyon. Here you find rocks that are nearly 2 billion years old, the Vishnu schist and Zoroaster granite. These are the foundation stones, the quiet, fundamental bedrock formed under unimaginable pressure deep within the crust. They were once parts of mountain ranges that rose and fell before the oceans that created the younger sedimentary rocks even existed. They are the initial prologue, the earliest nearly illegible script of the Earth's story. The sheer volume of time these layers represent is difficult for our short lives to comprehend, and this is precisely where the canyon offers profound peace. It shows us that time, in its true form, is not urgent. It is layered. It does not hurry. It simply accumulates. The work of forming these rocks and then exposing them took longer than the entire history of life on the land. In some places within this ancient archive, you will find moments of discontinuity, places where one layer rests directly upon another that is hundreds of millions of years older. Geologists call these unconformities. These are the missing pages of the book. They represent periods of silence, when time passed without leaving a sediment record, perhaps through violent erosion or vast periods of inactivity. They are gaps of silence that span epochs, and in that silence, we are invited to rest our own minds. The true majesty of the Grand Canyon is not its size, but its calmness. The river below, now reduced to a distant, persistent whisper, continues its abrasive work. It is moving millions of tons of material every year, grain by grain, constantly lowering the floor of the canyon in its steady quest for equilibrium. That whisper of the water is the sound of time passing, measured in the relentless scraping of sand against stone. As you allow the immense scale of this scene to settle in your mind, let the vastness of the canyon become an anchor. Let the realization that the largest, most spectacular landscape before us was carved by the smallest, most patient agent, a flowing stream of water, remind you of the power of gentle consistency. You are small, but you are connected to this rhythm. You are part of this enduring cycle of exposure and erosion. There is nothing left to rush. Sink deep into the stillness of the rocks, into the patient flow of the river, and allow the quiet memory of 2 billion years to bring you peace. We have witnessed the river's great labor, its patient, grinding work of disassembling the mountains and carrying their substance downstream. We have stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon, reading the history, carved in its walls. Now, as the river finally disperses its energy and its heavy load, we must follow that last, tiny particle of quartz into the ultimate resting place, the memory bank of the deep ocean. Allow the image of the rushing river to fade. The speed and sound are gone. We are now entering a realm of absolute stillness, where the primary force is no longer the horizontal thrust of water, but the quiet, vertical pull of gravity. The sediment, stripped from the highest peaks, drifts downward through the water column, sinking gently onto the abyssal plains, the vast, flat, and lightless prairies of the ocean floor. Imagine that you, too, are a tiny grain sinking slowly, taking weeks or even months to reach the bottom. As you descend, the color fades entirely. The pressure mounts to levels that defy imagination, yet in the darkness, this pressure creates a profound stillness. Here, beneath miles of insulating water, the forces of wind, storm, and human haste are completely neutralized. This is the planet's truest sanctuary. The abyssal plain is a place of perpetual quiet. Here, the only motion is the slow, continuous fall of pelagic snow, a gentle shower composed of sediment from distant continents, mineral dust blown from desert winds, and the microscopic skeletons of dead plankton and ancient organisms. This snow falls ceaselessly, day and night, year after year, century after century. It is the steady ticking of the geologic clock, quiet, cold, and slow. This deep-sea sedimentation is the opposite of the tectonic chaos that built the mountains. It is a process of perfect, ordered accumulation. The layers that form here are thin, stable, and remarkably undisturbed. Because nothing rushes and nothing moves violently, each layer is an accurate, chronological record of the world above. The ocean floor is, in essence, the Earth's silent archive. Every inch of accumulated sediment in these vast plains can represent thousands of years of history. Within these compressed layers lie the undisturbed records of Earth's major events. You can trace the ash from ancient supervolcanoes, identifiable as thin, bright seams. You can see the shift in magnetic polarity of the Earth's core, recorded by magnetic minerals that align themselves with the prevailing field before setting. And you can trace the slow, steady change in global climate through the types of tiny shells and chemical compositions preserved in the ooze. This archive is unique because it is a record of global silence. It captures the slow rhythm of the Earth itself, unedited by the powerful slashes of erosion we saw in the canyon. While rivers cut and expose, the deep ocean passively collects and preserves. It is a continuous log of time, extending backwards into the planet's profound past. As your mind settles on this deep, vast darkness, allow the certainty of the ocean floor to bring you rest. The memory of the mountains, their growth, and their ultimate demise is safely recorded here, locked away from all agitation. The particles of stone that once bore the stress of continental collision are now dissolved into the quietest, most stable environment on Earth. This is the ultimate fate of all things that rise, to return to a state of absolute, deep-seated rest. All the noise, all the conflict, all the geological drama ends here in a silent, continuous fall. There is great peace in this final, unhurried collection. Rest in the knowledge that your own cares and tensions, like the sediment of an ancient mountain, will eventually find their place of deep and perfect stillness. We have traveled through immense distances of time. We have ascended with the Himalayas, measured their patient, fingernail speed rise over millions of years, and we have descended into the silent, cold archive of the ocean floor, where 2 billion years of history rest undisturbed. We have examined the very substance of the Earth, watching it transform from solid rock to flowing sediment and back again. Now, as your body settles deeper into rest, it is time to turn this vast, abstract knowledge inward. It is time to compare the scale we have just explored, the scale of eons, with the scale we live within, the scale of moments. Your perception of time is a rapid succession of seconds, minutes, days, and seasons. It is driven by deadlines, appointments, and the immediate needs of a life lived at high speed. This human time, while vibrant and essential to your experience, is inherently anxious. It is perpetually concerned with what is next or what is past. But the planet, your host, and your resting place operates on an entirely different schedule. The Earth does not experience urgency. The great processes we have discussed, continental drift, mountain uplift, deep-sea sedimentation, do not adhere to a 24-hour clock. They measure their work in chronos, not kairos, in deep, endless duration, not fleeting opportunity. Allow yourself to feel the comforting disconnect between these two realities. The stress, the hurry, the small, insistent demands of your day, they are real, but they are contained entirely within your own rapid scale. They are merely a fleeting spark against the background of the planet's profound stillness. Consider the journey of a single granite molecule from the peak of an ancient mountain range. Its story spans over 300 million years. It was formed deep in the crust, uplifted during a continental collision, worn down by 1,000 generations of rain, carried by a river, deposited in a delta, cemented into sandstone, submerged beneath an ocean, and then finally brought to rest. Your entire life, your deepest worries and your greatest joys are just a single, unmeasurable fraction of that molecule's journey. There is nothing threatening in this perspective. Instead, there is immense protective comfort. When you recognize that you are resting upon a foundation that moves at the speed of a growing fingernail, you are liberated from the tyranny of speed. The Earth is giving you permission to slow down, because for the Earth, all haste is meaningless. Look at the surface of the planet with your mind's eye. The forests you see, the soils, the life, they are merely a thin, delicate film stretched over the massive, slow-moving geological engine below. This engine does not require your input, your worry, or your energy. It continues its work, the gentle grinding, the imperceptible rising, the silent accumulation, independent of human awareness. This is the power of deep time. It dissolves the urgency of human time. Allow the vastness to soothe you. Imagine your tension, your fatigue, your mental noise, collecting and slowing down. They cease to be frantic energy and instead become just one more particle, one more grain of sediment, beginning the long, slow, and quiet descent toward the abyssal plane of your mind. It is a heavy, certain feeling of letting go. As you breathe, imagine yourself connected to the deepest, quietest parts of the planet. Your inhalation is the slow expansion of a continent. Your exhalation is the gentle grinding of rock into sand. You are not a frantic, isolated consciousness. You are a momentary expression of this vast, enduring, and utterly patient geological process. Rest in this truth. Rest in the knowledge that your own cares are temporary, but the stability upon which you rest is measured in eternities. The Earth is the ultimate container for all things that rush, and tonight it holds you too, slowing your rhythm, to match its own. We have established the two fundamental rhythms of existence, the fleeting beat of human time and the vast, slow pulse of geologic time. Now, let us find security not just despite the planet's powerful processes, but because of them. We are seeking a sense of unrushed security. This security is derived from the simple, irrefutable fact that the Earth, which holds you tonight, is too immense and too deliberate to react with haste. The forces that shape its surface, the continental plates, the slow-motion collision of entire land masses, are so vast that their operations transcend any possibility of immediate threat. The scale of the movement is an act of planetary protection. Imagine for a moment the tectonic plates as a shield, not a shield that stands still, but one that is constantly and imperceptibly adjusting, shifting, and reinforcing itself. These movements, even the most violent ones that manifest as earthquakes, are merely tiny, instantaneous releases of stresses that have accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years. They are the size of an enormous body under pressure. But in the long, quiet intervals between these sighs, there is an absolute, predictable calm. You are resting on a surface that has perfected the art of patience. As you lie still, focus on the stillness of the rocks beneath the surface. Beneath the thin veil of soil and root systems, the bedrock extends down for miles, a cold, solid mass that feels the immense gravitational pull of the entire Earth. This mass, the lithosphere, is your foundation. It is moving, yes, but its movement is so uniform, so slow, and so deep that it provides the most perfect stability you could ever know. The greatest security we can find is in knowing that the foundational principles of our world are immutable and unhurried. No sudden financial panic, no immediate technological rush, no social tension can accelerate the drift of the North American plate or increase the speed of the Indian plate's collision. Those processes operate in a realm where human anxiety cannot reach and where human urgency cannot interfere. Let this vast slowness become your comfort blanket. Wrap yourself in the knowledge that while your immediate world might feel chaotic and demanding, the framework of your physical reality is one of profound, eternal order. The planet is telling you, you do not need to rush, because nothing of real, lasting importance ever does. This deep stability offers a gentle challenge to the anxiety of modern life. When the mind races and attempts to pull you into the stress of tomorrow, gently remind it of the Appalachians, those once mighty peaks, now rounded and softened. Their towering height took hundreds of millions of years to achieve, and hundreds of millions more to erode. This is true persistence. This is the measure of time that truly matters. By surrendering your sense of control over immediate outcomes, you gain access to a far deeper, more sustaining control, the acceptance of the Earth's pace. Your breath, which has been speeding up and slowing down throughout the day in response to small stresses, can now align itself with the slow, deep compression and release of the planet itself. Inhale. Imagine the gentle uplift of a mountain range, slow, certain, and strong. Exhale. Imagine the soft smoothing of that peak by rain, patient, constant, and complete. You are securely positioned within a cycle of perpetual creation and dissolution, where every action is balanced by an equal, unhurried reaction. There is no frantic imbalance here. There is only the rhythm of the planet, which is the rhythm of true, deep rest. Allow your muscles to relax fully, trusting in the absolute, reliable slowness of the tectonic cradle that holds you tonight. You are held by a force that cannot be hurried. You are secured by the Earth's own unyielding patience. We arrive now at the confluence of deep time and present moment. We have witnessed the Earth's grand, indifferent rhythm, a cycle of creation and dissolution so slow it appears to us as stillness. This cycle is not merely a scientific fact, it is a profound metaphor for the quiet, necessary process you are now entering. Sleep. Consider the mountain. It rises, a monument to immense pressure and collision, reaching its peak of complexity and height. But that peak is not a state of permanence. It is a state of maximum tension, maximum exposure. The mountain must then surrender to the forces of water and wind. It must be smoothed, ground down, and ultimately reduced to its constituent parts, to the quiet, formless sediment. This is the Earth's natural way of resetting. The erosion is not destruction, it is renewal. It is the process of breaking down complexity into simplicity, allowing the energy of the system to be stored and prepared for the next great uplift. Your own cycle of wakefulness and rest mirrors this perfectly. Your day is your uplift, a period of rising tension, building complexity, absorbing information, and reaching peaks of activity. But like the mountain, your mind and body cannot sustain this peak indefinitely. Sleep is your necessary and inevitable erosion. When you surrender to sleep, you are allowing the gentle forces of rest to smooth out the jagged edges of the day. The memories, the stresses, the endless stream of thoughts. These are the sharp fragments of rock, the tiny pieces of psychological sediment that must be softened and processed. Sleep does not erase the day, but it patiently grinds the day's intensity into a manageable form. It is the river of unconsciousness carrying away the immediate debris of your wakefulness. This is a deep, sustaining comfort. Your need for sleep is not a weakness or a failure of energy. It is an act of geological necessity. You are simply aligning with the most fundamental law of the planet, that every period of rising action must be followed by a period of profound rest and reprocessing. There is no guilt in this surrender. There is only the rightness of natural law. Imagine your body as the vast, heavy, continental plate. During the day, it is under constant, active pressure. Now, feel the friction ease. Feel your muscles, your joints, your very bones sinking into a state of minimum effort. You are beginning to drift, moving with the slow, almost imperceptible current of the deepest part of the night. You are moving at the speed of the drifting continents. Your mind, too, is participating in this great cycle. The thoughts that raced earlier, the planning, the worrying, the calculation, were the sharp peaks of your consciousness. As you descend, these thoughts are being dissolved into the vast, warm ocean of your subconscious. They are settling like sediment on the abyssal plane of your inner world, where they will be silently catalogued and stored. This quiet work, the processing of memory and emotion, is the true deep time of the mind. And just as the eroded material of the mountain, the sand and silt, is not lost but preserved, forming the foundation for future rock, your sleep is not an absence of life. It is the most powerful act of preservation. In this stillness, your energy is being gathered, your resilience is being renewed, and your capacity for the next period of creation is being assured. You are resting now in the confident assurance of the eternal cycle. Every night, you are released from the immediate, and every morning, you are given the opportunity for a new uplift. You wake renewed, ready to rise, just as mountains, once eroded yet, may be uplifted again through the restless, patient heart of the planet. Tonight, there is no place to go, nothing to do, and no timeline to meet. The clocks of humankind mean nothing here. You are resting on a geological timescale, moving with the currents that take millennia to shift. Surrender completely to the slow, heavy gravity of the Earth and the inevitability of your own renewal. You are safe. You are held. You are drifting on the slow, unending cycle of the mountains. Sleep well, and let the great, deep time of the Earth restore the deepest parts of your being. The whisper of peace. We have traveled through immense scales of time and pressure. We have witnessed the slow, inevitable collision of continents, the gradual birth of the highest mountains, and the ceaseless, patient work of water and air that grinds them back into dust. We have moved at the speed of the growing nail, and we have rested in the heart of the Earth's deep, eternal rhythm. Now, it is time to complete the journey, not by rushing back, but by gently allowing the mind to settle into the present moment, carrying the profound peace of that geologic time with you. Feel the contact points between your body and the surface beneath you. Feel the weight of your limbs, the comforting pressure of gravity. This pressure is the same quiet, massive force that governs the drift of continents. It holds you with absolute certainty. You are held by a force that existed long before human memory and will remain long after. You are safe in this security. The mountains you have imagined, the mighty rising peaks and the ancient smoothed hills are not outside of you. They are now a part of your mental landscape, a profound symbol of stability that moves slowly. Whenever anxiety attempts to seize your attention, remember the Himalayas, growing at 4 centimeters a year. Remember the great, silent patience of the tectonic plates. Your worries are fleeting dust on the vast, slow surface of geological time. They have no anchor here. Let the final realization be one of deep, sustained confidence. The planet itself is not frantic. It does not hurry its processes. It takes 1,000,000 years to make a crystal and 1,000,000,000 years to fold a rock layer. You are perfectly justified in adopting this pace now. There is no task so urgent, no thought so critical, that it requires you to fight against the Earth's gravity or the natural cycle of rest. Surrender your schedule, surrender your checklist, surrender the feeling that you must hold everything together. This moment is not about doing, it is about being. Allow yourself to become as heavy and as settled as the ancient bedrock you lie upon. There is no more need for resistance, no more need for effort. Let the soft, deep hum of the planet's great, slow churn become the final lullaby. You are moving with the deepest current of all, the current of rest, renewal, and eventual awakening. Trust in the cycle. The mountains will continue to rise in the silence of the night, and the rivers will continue to carve their paths. But their work requires nothing from you now. Your only work is to dissolve into the quiet, protected darkness. Breathe in the slow, cool stillness. Breathe out the last remaining tension. You are drifting, drifting. You are safe. You are still. Sleep now. Sleep well. And let the great whisper of peace carry you through the silent heart of the night.